I think I may be the oldest person on the panel. I am so old, ladies and gentlemen, I've actually used drachmas. And believe me, it wasn't a pretty sight at the time. Now, Professor Rubini is the Cassandra of contemporary geoeconomics. I mean that to praise him, because of course Cassandra issued warnings that the then civilized world didn't listen to. And he has been issuing warnings year after year, and they were not listened to. How we all wished that Sir Alan Greenspan, knighted by a British Labour government, had retired 20 years ago and Dr. Ubimi had been chairman of the Fed. We all might be in a much better position. Now, I can't argue with any of the distinguished economists on this panel. I'm not an economist. I didn't do PPE at Oxford. I remember why, because we were always taught that an economist is someone who knows 365 ways of making love, but has never met a woman. And I want to set this question of Greece in a wider context. The arguments you will hear on the narrow issue of the re-drachmatization and default have been made. But where we're sitting, where we're standing and speaking, this is about geography, about history, about what Europe means. And I say to all of us tonight that the idea of the European Union de facto expelling Greece from its chosen path of the Eurozone would be a huge historic error and a crime against the history of which this nation should be rightly proud. It is not up for us, the crude, cold barbarians of Northern Europe, to deny Greece its choice of what its European destiny might be. By all means, if people want to return to the drachma, let that be. But it should be the free choice of a free people, not something imposed on them by the orthodox economic thinking from outside of Greece. And the first time I came to Greece as a student at Oxford, there were soldiers in tanks in St. Tigma Square. And believe me, if it was announced in a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks that thanks to the IMF or orthodox economic thinking, that every euro in every Greek bank was going to face devaluation to half its value, you'd have to have soldiers outside every ATM, because the panic that would be spread would circulate around the world and do Greece not just the several years of very difficult time it has to go through, but do Greece permanent damage at all. And so I just think that the notion that devaluation is the answer is not right. And I speak now not as a European, but as a humble citizen, subject of Her Majesty, because you may have noticed that the English pound has been devalued by about 25% in the last 3 years. Where is this happy nirvana of exports? Where is this massive increase of English tourism? We now have £1 trillion in debt. I don't know how many zeros there are in a trillion. We now have nearly 25% youth unemployment. Despite the devalued pound, our balance of trade deficit is getting wider. We are exporting less and importing more, because in the modern economy, the idea that a simple devaluation is an automatic shoot in the arm, a quick burst of heroin or a sniff of cocaine and bingo, you become super exporter, is 20th century thinking. And this is the wrong solution, just as I think the current economic orthodoxy in Europe is the wrong solution. The tired orthodoxy of tired men who've been running out of ideas for too long. We now have a vision of Europe which would have made Herbert Hoover really proud. Public sector cuts, deflation, take it out of the poor, cut the minimum wage, remove benefits, fire public sector employees. Yes, debt reduction deficits have to be dealt with, but this return to the 1930s is not the right way forward. I love Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers. It was said of Ginger Rogers that she did every dance step that Fred Astaire could do, but backwards and in high heels. And when I see Nicolas Sarkozy in his high heels and Angela Merkel trying to dance a tango of deflation, I just say learn from Europe's history. Because this is also, though, not the solution of technocrats. Mr. Barroso, Mr. Van Rompuy, the European Commission are dead. This is about raw politics, bad politics, Hellenophobic politics in too many capital cities. I was debating with a British politician called Nigel Farage, he's very anti-European, on the BBC last week, and he said, we can now liberate Greece from the euro. Liberate Greece from the euro. This contempt for the Greek people, who, yes, have not had the best political governing class known on God's earth in the last 10 years. But has anybody ever been to South Italy? Has anybody ever asked why some politicians in other European countries are now in prison? So please, let us not have this effortless European, North European superiority, because giving the drachma back to Greece will make no difference. What Greece needs, what Britain needs, what Germany needs, what France needs is a change of monetary and economic policy, not a change of currency. And to return to a Europe of every currency fighting with every currency, because it won't stop with Greece. It'll be Portugal next, then Spain, then France, and of course the speculators will be clearing up. The ratings agencies will be clearing up. And when are we going to have a ratings agency for the ratings agencies? And so we now need, yes, hard and difficult decisions by the Greek people, by their businessmen. It would be very nice if occasionally a Greek shipper turned up and paid some tax. It would be very nice if occasionally the Greek church paid some tax. But I don't want to make any offensive or derogatory remarks. But returning to the drachma will not make this happen. In the old days, the Spartans took the weakest member of their families and left them on the mountains to die. European solidarity is not about leaving Greece to die, but finding ways of helping Greece, I hope with a change of policy, a change of thinking. We mustn't let that happen to Greece again. That is what Europe's about. That is what being in the European Union's about. That is what staying in the euro, despite the difficulties, is about. So, ochi to the drachma, nay to the euro. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.